Hey folks, we're back in the kitchen. We're having our family Christmas dinner tonight. It's not quite Christmas, but we do it ahead of time. And I'm going to make a dish for that. It's called Millionaires Mac and Cheese. If you're interested in that, or if you like mac and cheese, stick around. It's good stuff. Now we're going to feed almost an army this evening, so we're making a double batch of this. But if it's just your family at home, feel free to cut this in half. You could easily feed your family with half of this. So we want to get a jump on things. We're going to have to cook 2 pounds of pasta, and we're using cavatappi pasta. I've been using a lot of that lately. It's got a real nice bite to it. So I can do a pound in one pot, so I got to do 2 pots to do 2 pounds. I put a teaspoon of salt in each one, and we'll get that going. Once you start cooking, you want to cook your pasta about 1 minute less than you would need for al dente pasta, because the pasta is going to cook a little bit in the oven and it's going to soak up some more of that sauce. And the next thing we're going to do is grate all of our cheeses, and I think that's where this mac and cheese gets its name, because some of these cheeses are very expensive. In fact, to do this double batch cost me about $80 at the store. So that may be why it's called Millionaire Mac and Cheese. To grate all the cheeses, I use this gizmo here. I found it Junk Jaunt. My mom had one of these years ago. They work so good for grating, slicing, and all that other stuff. There's 3 different attachments that go in here, and they just pop right off. And then this piece and this piece can go in the dishwasher. The base suction cups down to the counter. Pretty cool. We've got all of our cheeses shredded, the Shred-O-Matic. Make short work of that. We have 16 ounces of aged white cheddar. We have 16 ounces of Gruyere. We have 5 ounces of Parmesan, 5 ounces of Romano, and 8 ounces of medium cheddar. Seems like a lot of cheese, and it is, but we're making mac and cheese. Now once our pasta is done, this dish will come together fairly quickly. So that's why we want to do the pasta first and have it ready. So for our sauce, you're going to do 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks. You're going to do 1 cup of flour. That will make your roux. And then you've got 2 cups of heavy cream and 6 cups of whole milk. And then in our spices here, we have a tablespoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper, a half teaspoon of smoked paprika, and a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. So we have all that on the ready. All right, both pots are boiling, so in goes the pasta. Two pounds, and then we're going to give it a stir to keep it from sticking. We're going to bring it back to a boil, and then 7 minutes is all we need. Our pasta is done, so to our pasta we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and we're going to stir that up, and that's going to keep our pasta from sticking together. And then once we do that, we can start on the sauce. Ooh, we lost the noodle. Well, it's about an hour till we need to leave. So first thing you want to do is start your oven, 350. Get it warming up. And we've already got our butter melted. I just had it on low earlier. But we'll get the fire back under that. And as soon as it starts to bubbling, we'll throw in the flour. All right, our butter's hot. So we're going to throw in all of our flour. We're going to get that mixed up and incorporated. You want all that flour to be moistened by the butter. And once that happens, you can throw in all your spices. That heat will wake those spices up. And once all that's incorporated, we go in with all of our 6 cups of milk. You don't want to add it a little bit at a time because it'll get lumpy on you. So we'll get that incorporated. And then we're also going to add our heavy cream. All of our liquid at once. Now when this liquid comes to a simmer, that's when we start adding our cheese. It's very similar to making gravy or bechamel sauce. Basically what we're going to be making is like a cheese bechamel sauce. But you want to stir it pretty frequently because it's going to get thicker on the bottom first, just like any time we make gravy or anything else. And like I always tell you, once this comes to a simmer and starts to bubble, it's as thick as it's going to get cooking wise. As it cools down, it gets thicker obviously. So we'll keep stirring this till it bubbles. Now once it bubbles, we're going to turn the fire off on this big burner, and then we're going to use this little burner in the back on low. We want to put our cheese in here in stages, one variety of cheese at a time. You want to treat it kind of like a fondue. If you've ever made fondue, you want to melt the cheese really slow. You don't want to hurry it. So you'll dump the first installment of cheese in, wait till it melts. Dump the next installment in, wait till it melts. We'll probably have that burner on low. Initially, this mix will be warm enough to melt the cheese, but as you continue to add cheese, it'll cool down, so you got to let it come up on low real slow. Put your next cheese in. We're on about medium heat. We don't want to come up too fast. Our oven has reached 350. You want to scrape the sides too with your whisk, because the heat's coming up around the sides of that because it's got a pretty big burner down here. So just keep the whole thing scraped. Starting to get thick. Alright, you can see we're bubbling. So now's the point we want to turn this fire off, and we'll move it back on that little burner. So we started out with our Gruyere. We haven't got that burner on yet. We're letting the heat in the sauce that's already there melt our cheese. You can see melts it fairly quickly. We're not going to turn our burner on to low until it gets to where we're not melting. So that cheese is pretty much gone. Let's go in with our white cheddar. Okay, our white cheddar is in the mix. We'll keep stirring that. Low and slow. We're not even on the heat yet. We're now in with the medium cheddar. Get that stirred in. Still don't have any fire on yet. Still not necessary. Still melting. I wish you could smell this right now. It's just absolutely amazing. Okay, that cheddar melted right in. We may not even have to go with the heat. It's doing really well. So let's go in with the Parmesan and Romano all at once, because it's about half of what the other cheeses were. Stir this in, see if it'll melt it. Looks like it's doing pretty good. Yep, I don't think we're going to have to turn the heat on at all. So let me stir this a little bit more, and then we'll throw the pasta in. Get that stirred up. We have our big lasagna dish over here, all sprayed, ready to go. Yep, let's get the pasta in here. Got our pasta in. We are just about at capacity with this pot. So let me stir this in. It's going to take 2 hands, and then we'll get it poured into our baking dish. So we're basically folding. You bring it up from the bottom, and then we're ready to go. We're ready to go in the pan. It's plenty mixed up. Scrape all our cheesy goodness out of that pot. Like that. Put it all the way out to the edges. If you see more cheese on one side, just kind of pull it over and tuck it in. Okay, there's our mac and cheese ready to go into the oven. Now, if you like a breadcrumb topping, like a panko breadcrumb, now's the time you would put it on. But we're going to have a bunch of kids there, and kids don't necessarily like breadcrumb topping. They like just the plain mac and cheese. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a piece of parchment on top, and then a piece of foil. Now, if you do want to do the breadcrumbs, you would use a cup of panko breadcrumbs, put in about 2 tablespoons of butter, more if you think it needs it. About a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika and about a 1/4 cup of Parmesan. Stir that up and then put it over the top of your casserole, your macaroni and cheese, before it goes in the oven. That parchment will keep our mac and cheese from sticking to our aluminum foil. Tuck the edges under a little bit, and then in the oven we go for 10 minutes. Got the foil removed. Now we're going to do 5 minutes. Now if you're only doing a single batch, we're doing a double, remember. You could just use a 9x13 casserole dish, would work just fine. Alright, our 5 minutes is up, so now we're on broil. And once you go to broil, you want to watch this. See how it's nice and bubbly down in there? We just want to kind of brown the top a little bit. That's all we want to do. And it's only going to take a couple minutes, so don't walk away. Now at this point when you're broiling, you would be browning your breadcrumbs on top as well. Alright, that's about all the color you want. So take it out when it looks like that. So we're going to let this cool just a little bit, and then we'll use the same foil and parchment to transport this to the party. Another good tip is get you a nice sheet pan, put a dish towel in it. That'll keep the bottom from getting too hot to where you can't put it in your vehicle.
They're crazy about my macaroni and cheese dish.
So, best macaroni and cheese you're ever going to eat. It's so good. I love it with the breadcrumbs on top, but you don't have to do it that way. I hope you try this recipe and give me your feedback. It's really good in my opinion. So, till next time, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. I hope you all have a happy new year and a prosperous new year. Love you. Come back and see us.